It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for February 26, 2025. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, what is next for Warner Brothers after its closure of a storied game studio, and should we expect more Silent Hill remakes? But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jason Fanelli, everybody. Jason, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. My voice is finally back from the beginning of the month. Just want to point at this hat real quick. Get it out of my system. No, things are good. Things are working.
We've moved on. The NFL Combine is getting ready. We don't have to talk about your team anymore.
Yes, we do. They want to ban my tush push.
Yeah, they that would be bad. That's such a good football play.
It is such a good football play, and it is a football play. And
yes.
You know who it is? This we can kind of come together on.
Oh yeah,
it's the Packers.
Yes,
the Packers are the ones that are whining, and they
whine so much.
Off.
Yeah, they want to say
so
stuff like we're the NFC's like New England Patriots or whatever.
Oh please!
And it's like the New England Patriots, for as bad as they were, actually didn't whine as much as you do. So no, you
That's
are
correct.
The NFC's Green Bay Packers, a bunch of whitey sacks of poo-poo. Hey, Jason, I have been, continue to be very happy for you and your Eagles. That team by the end was looking like a Super Bowl team, and boy, they played like it in the Super Bowl. So that's gotta be real nice.
It was, and I read an article from a local blog here that I think summed it up perfectly. In 2018, when Nick Foles led us to the title against the Patriots, that was for the longtime fans. That was the one for the people who have been suffering with the fan base their entire life. This one was for the children. This one was This one was the one where I got to drive down my main thoroughfare in my suburban neighborhood with the windows down, blasting Bluey's Dance Mode because that's what the kids picked.
Of course.
High-fiving people out of the window. It was for them. And now they talk about it a lot. That was how much fun it was and how they hope they win the Super Bowl every year. And I said, pump the brakes, kid. You'll learn real quick that that's not how this works.
That's not how it works.
But yeah, it was real neat. I'm very still kind of wrapping my head around the fact that it happened, even though my bank account for NFLshop.com says it.
Yes, that's definitely 100% did happen. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You were in Chicago recently. You did that Magic the Gathering thing.
Yes, Magic.
How was Chicago?
Chicago's cold.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
Weird.
But yeah, I'd only been there one time before, 2014. I went to visit family who was working out there. I love that city, man. I was there. It was me, Joe Bradford, editor-in-chief of MMORPG, fantastic dude, and Mr. John Carson, Nasty Boy, with them.
Yes,
that's one of the
good Nasty Boys.
Yeah, we were playing games and checking out some new cards. That the Final Fantasy set definitely has people going nuts. Got a great interview regarding that coming out soon on GameSpot. Just waiting for a couple things to happen. I spoke to lead game designer and then one of the VPs for the collaboration effort that they have there. Very, very good stuff there. But yeah, played some Magic, had some fun. It was an overnight. Got there Saturday morning, flew back Sunday night. I love those things. If you're ever tangentially interested, MagicCons, they're doing a good job and they're getting better. I feel like they're starting to get their feet under them as far as organization is concerned, especially from a media perspective. I thought this one, compared to Vegas, and Vegas was pretty well organized, was even more so.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Yeah, I got a quick trip I'm going to do this weekend. I'm jaunting down to Columbus to go see the outdoor Red Wings game. I like those. I'm just going to go do something real quick in another city and then come back basically the same day or the next day. I like those kinds of trips. It's fun. I'm like, I got to do something fun, and then I'm back home where my stuff is and my family. That's right.
Yeah. Once in a while there'll be something in New York where I can just drive it for the day, 2 hours.
Yeah. Sure.
Do the thing and then come back. It's awesome. Would I prefer them to do these things in Philly? Yes, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Absolutely. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. I'm going to stop here and also point out, hey, if you're watching live and you're like, wait, what is going on? We are doing this at a different time. Things are changing a little bit, but it's just like so we could do more stuff kind of back to back here on Giant Bomb. With the help of GameSpot, there's some folks over there. We're going to kind of collaborate a little bit more, share our resources. there's more to come on all of that. This show will be getting a name change soon. There'll be like new art, new music, all that stuff. But yeah, it's still going to be this show, still going to work this way. I will say, if I seem more engaged, it's because I'm not running the show. Jan's running the show now. That's yeah, it's weird. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands, so I'm just going to keep them up the whole time like this. But let's continue with the intro. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Warner Brothers cancels Wonder Woman game and shuts down Shadow of Mordor studio. Jason, we talked about this on the Bombcast yesterday a little bit, but there's a little bit more info here. We might as well go over what happened. This is, like I said, Ethan Gotcha, Kotaku. Monolith Productions revealed it was making a Wonder Woman game back in 2021. Now, publisher Warner Brothers Games has announced that the project has been canned, and the studio best known for Middle-earth: Shadow of War is being shut down as well as part of larger cuts. The shakeup comes after 2024's Suicide Squad bombed and platform fighter Multiverses failed to make a comeback. The news, first reported by Bloomberg, was confirmed by Warner Brothers Games in a statement provided to Kotaku over email. We've had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios, says the statement, and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises. That includes Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. After careful consideration, Player First Games and Warner Brothers Games San Diego, which was a new studio, newish, this is a strategic change in direction and not a reflection of these teams or the talent that consists within them, but parentheses still go to hell all the people that work there. All right, yeah, so let's kind of do the initial like feed or reaction here of Warner Brothers closing these studios. I got to say, Jason, the writing had been on the wall for years now for this stuff, because Warner Brothers has shopped these studios around multiple times to sell them off to external parties, and they were never able to make that happen. And it's like, well, they clearly don't want to own these studios, but no one wants to buy them without getting the IP, which continues to be was the hang up for all those deals. Was, hey, you want to sell me a studio that's working on Batman stuff and all this other stuff? Can we have Batman too? Well, no, of course not. So when they weren't able to sell them, it's like, okay, so as soon as they kind of find a moment where like they're at their lowest, they're probably just going to shut these things down. And here we are. And the fact that we were able to see this coming for years and they weren't able to manage themselves out of it speaks to the deep mismanagement in this company and in this industry at large. And it just continues to suck that it can happen to a studio like Monolith Productions, a company that's had so many interesting and awesome games over 30 years. And, David Zaslav and then the people below him that were running WB Games, who reportedly did a very poor job, according to everyone who's ever talked about it. It stinks.
It stinks.
Yeah.
There's really no other way. I mean, call up Jay Sherman from the 90s, The Critic Show. It stinks. I don't mean to, I'm trying to add some levity. But
for sure.
In all honesty, I don't know with the new GameSpot Giant Bomb thing what the profanity rule is.
We're going to try not to say the F word as much, but I will continue to fail at that.
Screw David Zaslav.
There you go. Yeah.
And screw Haddad right underneath him. The only thing you need to see that really explains the impact of this is to find people who worked there on social media. Blue Sky specifically is where I was seeing them, and just seeing how devastated they were that the world is not going to see this Wonder Woman game. Multiple people saying we were working on something special. This was going to be great. We were so excited to show it to you. And because this idiot and his little cronies underneath him don't know a video game from their ass from a hole in the ground, now here we are with dozens of people, probably hundreds of people out of a job. It's funny, last time I was on this show, we talked about the mismanagement of Multiverses, right? Because it was right when they announced that they were going to be shutting that down in May. So that is now probably a pretty good test case as to the whole of WB Games. Honestly, at this rate, the only thing I would be confident with them doing is licensing their IP. I have no confidence in internal Warner Brothers Games anymore. And I hope that somebody can come in and purchase some of these other studios with their IP and get them out of there. NetherRealm is first in my head because I'm a fighting game guy.
NetherRealm would be able to like be the one that could pull that off, right? Because you could see Warner Brothers being like, well, okay, a video game first franchise, we will sell that IP along with NetherRealm, and whether that's NetherRealm buying themselves out or getting sold to another corporation, that seems possible. Although it also feels like if that could have happened, it probably would have happened by now.
Would have happened already.
But who knows?
It doesn't help that their last two games are compared to like Mortal Kombat X in 2015 is when it should have happened.
Right.
After that, it's sort of like Mortal Kombat 11 was fine.
It made a lot of money though. Mortal Kombat 11 made a ton of money.
Sure. From a quality perspective.
Sure.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sales
but that the next game, Mortal Kombat 1, paid for that quality. Like that's the one that was like also a kind of mid in the opinion of a lot of fighting game fans, and then also didn't make the money that Mortal Kombat 11 made.
And they're already saying that it's done after this next DLC. I think T1000 Robert Patrick is it. If that's the case, now I'm on NetherRealm watch to make sure that they're okay. Because what are they working on? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so we got that story. I think we also talked about this during the Bombcast. I think, if not, it was Game S Mornings earlier this week that the DCU people, James Gunn and Peter Safran, were like, hey, we had good conversations with Rocksteady and NetherRealm, and then immediately right after that is when they announced, and then also don't worry these other studios are getting shut down. So it's like, okay, you could see that right in this moment, they're like, well, we're going to give Rocksteady another chance. We're going to give NetherRealm, not another chance. Those games, they didn't perform as well and they weren't as good, but NetherRealm's not at risk of closing down in this moment. But you get the sense that like they could be working their way toward that if the line keeps going down. But in the meantime, seems like they might be working on some DC stuff, an Injustice successor, something that might be like those games, but maybe ties in a little bit more to the current slate of films, because that seems something that they keep saying that they're interested in. We'll see if they're able to pull that off. That's a high degree of difficulty, getting movies and games to work together these days, right?
Yes. I would say it's nigh impossible. Most of the time, the licensed games that are the best are the ones that are standalone. Indiana Jones comes to mind. I don't know. I mean, I would hate to see, if they were to go back to Mortal Kombat, it be related to the movies. I kind of like that they're their own thing.
Oh, definitely, yeah, for sure.
And then well, here's the thing, though. If James Gunn can get NetherRealm involved on the ground floor of what he's trying to build, and then they build a video game sort of tangentially based on that, maybe its own story where he has some input or something like that, that I might be able to get behind.
I agree. That sounds good.
That sounds okay with me. Whether it's Injustice or whether it's called something else and it's just a fighting game with DC characters, what have you. But nothing I could dream up in my head removes the dread of the Zaslav effect, the Haddad effect. And that will always be there for as long as these companies work for Warner Brothers Games. And Monolith, man, people talk about the legacy of Monolith, and they are not wrong. 30 years and a full portfolio of classic fan-loved games. Unfortunately, with these two dipshits, it never mattered. These are the guys who are still calling video games Nintendo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they don't even understand movies, their primary business. Right. Well, of course, there's no chance that they're going to understand gaming. And the evidence, the proof of that is in the pudding of the things that they say, their actions, for sure. This is the company that made Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy, and Hogwarts Legacy did very well, continues to be one of the best-selling games every month, at least in the United States, but I think globally. And their reaction to that is, publicly at least, to investors, well, the next Harry Potter game might be a live service game. So, what? What are you talking about? And then there was a leaked email that was sent internally following these closures from Discovery Head of Global Streaming and Games, JB Perrett. Polygon published parts of the letter. He said that the team needs to regain our credibility and swagger at producing great games, and he blamed current financial difficulties on the product market fit and quality of too many of our new releases really missing the mark. We need to and will do better for our fans first and foremost, and also because regaining that credibility is critical to us securing even more investment in games in the years to come. Getting our swagger back happens one quality game release at a time, and our financial credibility gets rebuilt one fiscal quarter at a time, delivering what we said we would deliver and no big negative surprises. He also described the strategy going forward as fewer games but bigger. And I got it. I mean, to me, that's what got you into this mess, right?
Yes.
I mean, I suppose like in their mind, like, well, like that Quidditch game really ruined us. That that was too small and didn't matter. It's like, oh, is that really what we're saying here? To me, it seems like having Rocksteady build a game for a very long time that no one cared about. That seemed to be the issue, a big and few.
Yeah.
So you're going back to your point of having very little faith in Warner Brothers to be able to guide these studios out of whatever situation that they're in. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, this guy used swagger in his email more than once. That's all I need to see, right? These are the kind of like, come on, man. You're not playing sports. You're not talking about trying to get your sports team back in the
Zaslav
game
gets
here.
his groove back. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. It's so disheartening. And I mean, it's just the latest symptom of a larger issue, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is basically the kind of story we've been talking about for 2 years now, just at different places. It just so happens to be one that we saw coming a mile away, and we're just waiting for that second shoe to drop. God, that I will now. I can't wait. I hope maybe it's me one day that'll write this story. It won't be, but hopefully someday it will be. I would love to write a Wonder Woman story to get that story to get that. I mean, I'm sure they're NDA'd out the wazoo, but when people stop caring and they want to tell that story, I would love to hear what went on in that studio for 2 years and the absolute bullshit that they had to put up with just to have their game canned. It's infuriating.
Yep.
Absolutely infuriating.
Yep. I mean, it just goes back to them wanting to make a Wonder Woman game, kind of probably across the board, but the studio and the publisher. But the publisher's reasoning being like that movie was a hit, and then the second movie stinks, and it now Wonder Woman feels like it's in a very similar position to where Suicide Squad was after that first movie when they were working on that game, and it's like no one cared about this or the franchise has a taint to it because of the most widely popular available media being something that people are kind of feeling bad about. And it's like, God, you kind of, this is why you kind of can't tie these games to something that's going on with the movies, because the people's movies taste change every 3, 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
And that's how long it takes to make a game. So you are going to continually find yourself in this situation if that you keep going down that road. And it's like, you would have been better off kind of choosing a different DC character and reestablishing it in gaming separate from anything that's happening with the movies. And I think, honestly, a lot of us were saying that at the time, definitely for Suicide Squad, maybe less so for Wonder Woman, but definitely for Suicide Squad. So mismanagement across the board, and the managers mostly still there.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting anything different.
That gets you. The people who this mess, they stay in their jobs on their whatever the hell, and we're grinding every single day to make these things happen are now out on the street, and it's just like I keep saying infuriating because I want to say we're trying to keep it clean.
Jason, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's internet issues or something like that. Yeah, just a little bit of glitching.
Better?
I think it might be coming back a little bit.
I was shaking. That might have something to do with it. I don't know if it's maybe my wire is a little
okay. No, yeah, it does seem like it's coming back. I think so.
I want to keep my hands above the desk for the rest of the show.
No, it's still coming in and out. Still coming in and out.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
We'll give it a second. I'll introduce the next story and we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, definitely do a hand check. That's right. Warner Brothers keeps Nemesis gaming patents despite studio closure. So, God damn it. This is from Scott Barrett at DualShockers. Warner Brothers may have closed some of its more prominent studios, but it will retain a patent created in a game made by one of its now former subsidiaries, the subsidiary that it closed. The gaming world was shocked when it revealed that Warner Brothers had canceled the Wonder Woman game that was first announced back in 2021 and never had a proper gameplay trailer. Wonder Woman has been in development for years, and there's a lot of speculation as to why it would be shut down now. On top of Wonder Woman's cancellation, Warner Brothers also announced that it had closed 3 of its studios, WB San Diego, Player First Games, and Monolith Productions, the last of which was working on Wonder Woman. while WB may have destroyed Monolith Productions, it still is going to keep one of the patents made by the company. As Imran Khan of VentureBeat confirmed, excuse me, Warner Brothers will retain the patent of the Nemesis system from the Lord of the Rings games produced by Monolith for at least another decade. The Nemesis system was created for Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and used again in its sequel, Shadow of War. Essentially, the Nemesis system allowed players to have rival characters in the game that would get stronger as they defeated the protagonists remaining throughout the story. Basically, they would come back and they would have their own personalities, and you would then be charged with going out and hunting them. And then if you killed them, they might come back later and have like a wound or something and have like an axe to grind against you. It was a very cool thing. And Warner Brothers patented it. They had a patent for this idea, this concept, and that's one of the reasons we haven't seen it in other games. I bet there are other reasons where it's like, it's maybe difficult to replicate, but the big reason being the patent. And patents last for 20 years. The Shadow of Mordor game came out 10 years ago, so there's another 10 years where Warner Brothers will sit on this. And really, the expectation here, I think, Jason, is they will just sit on it because it's a patent and the executives don't know what to do with it. They wouldn't even know how to like leverage it to maybe get some value out of it by like working with other publishers and be like, hey, we will lease this to you or sell it to you relatively cheap so it makes sense for you. No, they're just going to sit on it, and now they don't have a studio with the expertise to take advantage of it. This is just such a black eye for the way this video game industry works, right?
Yes, it is. How we feeling? We all right so far?
I think we're doing good.
Okay, cool. Just goes back to what we were saying previously. And this is actually even worse because like, it's one thing to have your IP because it's inside Warner Brothers, it's Batman, it's all that stuff. This is a potentially game industry changing system that was started by a company that just happened to be in your purview, and then you locked it up and you're not letting anybody use it. It's basically taking your bow and going home. I would love to see variations on this, right? But you can't because anything that resembles it is gonna influence this patent. So could they sell the patent? Could they?
They could.
Could they do something like that?
I mean, but I think we know that what they're going to do, and it's nothing. Because
they're going to do nothing.
Like we know how corporations work.
Yeah,
you have something, and can you, unless you have like feel full ownership of it, you don't even really know it, like how to like approach doing something with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone just kind of does nothing and sits around and like lets it sit over there in a filing cabinet. That's what's going to happen here. And it's very frustrating because, as you point out, we would love to see variations on it. We would love to see the industry riff on this idea. And that's not like some novel concept. That is video game software development from the very beginning. I always harp on this, that from the beginning, if someone made a video game at, Stanford or whatever the hell it was, Space War, and a bunch of nerds went there and couldn't stop playing it. And then they're like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it basically beat for beat and make my own version of this and put it in the arcade. And someone else did the first two games after Space War were Space War clones. And then the next game after that, kind of basically Pong. And then there were 50 Pong clones. And that is the story of the industry. People like, Pac-Man clones, Space Invaders clones. Just keep going down the line. Doom, there are Doom likes. And the industry was vibrant because of this, because it did actually breed competition and new ideas coming out of the same basic formula. And it has always worked. It has always been good. There are definitely times when people have put out a game and like some mobile developer will copy it exactly. And that is one of the issues with this. But, we still have that. That still happens. And in the meantime, Warner Brothers gets to patent this idea. Patents in software development continue to be just mostly a terrible thing. And, it's why I will continue. Whenever someone like works in open source development, I'm like, you are a saint. Thank you so much. Like we need more of that. And that continues to be like a closely held belief by many people who do work in software, that these things should be shared with one another. And so when a corporation comes in, it's like, we own that. They didn't even create it. The people that created this don't work there anymore. It's very, very frustrating to me, Jason.
It is. Iteration sometimes breeds innovation. And all those examples you just said are perfect. I would also add that Mario, obviously, Super Mario Brothers, then brought in all the platformers like Sonic the Hedgehog and the true pinnacle of our industry, Bubsy. So, sorry, couldn't say that with a straight face.
The pinnacle didn't happen until Blues Brothers 2000, please.
Oh, that's right. Go watch Play Club. Great. That was a great pitch. but no, it's just the same. We keep going back to the same basic argument that the people who make the decisions don't know how to make the decisions that they're responsible of making. And then something stupid like this happens, where again, this beautiful technology is just sitting there with, gathering digital dust in a patent, and the patent paper work is in a drawer somewhere. They're going to probably forget about it. Watch, at this rate, Zaslav will finally get kicked out at some point. They'll forget about it. And at 2034, it'll just go away, and that'll be that. It's annoying, and it's frustrating, and it sucks. And I hope that somebody can make them a deal where they can be like, we want to use this. I don't know who it would be. I don't know where they would come from or how much money it would take. Probably more than it's actually worth, of course.
Yeah. But I think what I would like to see is an indie studio just go make a game with the Nemesis system in it and see. They probably won't even sue you. Because like that, they would have to like enforce it. They would have to be like, because there's no like patent cop out there patrolling the streets being like, oh, so I know someone owns that patent. It would be on Warner Brothers to have to enforce it themselves.
Right.
And maybe they would be too lazy, too stupid, too distracted, too incompetent to enforce it. That would actually be my guess is how this would go down. Now,
I wonder if like Nemesis system, the whole point is the more you encounter someone, the stronger they get and the more difficult they get. Could they try and spin this as like relationships in games? The more you talk to someone, the stronger your relationship gets. Is that a Nemesis system? Like, I hate to put that out in the universe.
No, I don't think so. I think like it would have to be a very specific thing of an enemy. Like the way these patents are written, they're usually very narrow. That doesn't stop companies that have patents from being patent trolls and being like, hey, this is a violation, we're going to sue you. Or, you could just settle. And Warner Brothers absolutely could end up being a patent troll that way, for sure. My guess would be they just looking at that company, they wouldn't even have the sort of the wherewithal to figure that out. But, that maybe that's optimistic thinking that they're too stupid to know what they have.
Tracks.
All right. Let's keep moving here. More than 40% of all US PS5 and Xbox playtime last month was spent on 10 live service games. It's this story again, basically. We've had this for a while that, hey, there's a handful of games that continue to just be these black hole games that swallow up a ton of the industry. Do you think that this is going to, like, this number, 40% of playtime, it kind of has hovered around there? Do you think that continues to grow? Do you think it shrinks? Or do you think it kind of maintains at that level going forward? Do you think that there's going to be more people, and as they come into gaming, they're like, well, I'm just going to go play Fortnite and Roblox and Call of Duty?
I mean, my first inclination is yes. I think it's going to grow, maybe not significantly, but at least a little bit, maybe get to 50%. Because how many of these people that are contributing to this would never play video games anyway, and they're the only games they play, whether it's because they're playing with their friends, or they've heard of Call of Duty their whole life, or Roblox is kid-friendly, or Minecraft actually is kid-friendly, and they're just kind of filtered there because that's all the parents know too, right? Going back to the people who still call it Nintendo, they've heard of Minecraft because it's everywhere. They've heard of Fortnite because it's everywhere. So that's what they send their kids towards. I've had many conversations with people who are like, what do you think about Roblox? And that's a whole different story. But yeah, I think this number is always going to be somewhere in the 40 to 50% range, just because they're so popular and they're free, which helps. So the parents don't have to put any financial responsibility into it. It's not like the barrier of buying a console. I don't see this going away anytime soon unless something happens to the games themselves where they go away. But that's never going to happen because with this playtime comes a lot of money. They're very lucrative games. I think one of the stats here, it pertains to 2023, but it names great examples of these games. Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto 5, which will soon be 6, but I don't think that's going to do anything to playtime. League of Legends, Minecraft, and Roblox. Huge games, never going anywhere. Now, would sports games fit into this as well? Like, is FIFA or FC, excuse me, because of Ultimate Team? Is that live service, or is it not? It just has a live service element. So that kind of plays into it too. Sports will always be popular. Some people will only play sports games because they love the sports they come from. So I don't think it's ever going away. But I also don't think that I think the main challenge here is for the industry is getting these people who are only playing these live services games to make the jump, right? To
Yeah.
the that's why I think they focus so much on IP collaborations at the moment. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being in Call of Duty is absurd. But if some kid who falls to peer pressure a lot sees the Ninja Turtles in Call of Duty, they might think, "Whoa, what makes the Call of Duty so cool?" And if the Ninja Turtles seem so cool, and if his friends go there too, he's going to figure out. And then they have Ninja Turtle fans, and that is why I think this keeps happening. But
Yes.
but to go back to the playtime thing, no, I don't think this is ever going away. Just because these games will always be popular as long as they continue to make money.
Yeah, I think what happens here is you mentioned trying to get people to jump over, and it's like I maybe they have to find different kinds of players that like actually want to jump around from games, and those people will exist separate from the people who only are in these live service games. But in that case, I think even someone that comes in the gaming for single player narrative driven RPGs and stuff probably finds themselves, at least a portion of them, also jumping into Fortnite with their friends. Their friend want to play video games, so it's like everything will benefit from that, except for maybe like live service will always benefit from more people coming in. That's why it will continue to grow and continue to be like this, at least this size in the industry. I think the dynamism of hey, are people buying a lot of different kinds of games? That will have to come from attracting the kinds of people who are into that idea in the first place. And the people who came into gaming for free to play live service games to play with their friends were probably never going to be that kind of person. So,
right.
Yeah. And I, the other side of that is, okay, well then do these companies, are they interested in the demand from the people that want to play a lot of different kinds of games? Or do they continue to hear the siren song of, we could be the 11th game on this list, the 11th black hole game? I think they continue to hear that, and that is a problem for expecting to get a lot of variety from big companies. Warner Brothers themselves saying we're going to make fewer games, fewer and bigger. So that doesn't sound great to me.
No, it doesn't. It's a fallacy to think because there's only so many gamers. There's a lot of them, but there's only so many gamers and so much attention span to go around. And eventually you're going to have people who are loyal to these 10 live service games. I would consider myself most loyal to Fortnite. It's the one I play the most. It just is. My kids would say Minecraft. They play a lot of Minecraft together. They each go into each other's worlds on their Switches. They're just in their own little isolated spots. So they would say Minecraft. I have friends who love League of Legends, including one lurking on this call. I have people who play GTA Online all the time. I have people who I try to tell not to play Roblox, but that's another story. That's what they play. And that's the one they're going to be dedicated to. Are they going to have the bandwidth to try number 11?
Yeah,
I think there's a
we're
whole
hitting a wall.
graveyard full of IP that would say no.
Yep. And what does happen is the big games keep getting bigger. Roblox has been around since 2006.
Yeah,
they just add more stuff to that, and people just continue to glom onto that. And then if they stop playing that, they graduate to one of these other live service games. We have stories of Grand Theft Auto, the Rockstar planning to have huge user generated content plans for GTA 6 online. And it's like, yeah, you want to be the adult Roblox, and that will certainly be a likely scenario for what we're going to end up seeing from that game.
God, could you imagine?
Yep. I mean, yeah, they already have a lot of creator levels in that game to make that a focus and make that central to it. I can't imagine.
It's not even getting into the private roleplay servers that have become ubiquitous with that game. I know someone
they acquired the role-playing server company, and so they're going to have that built into the game as well. It's going to be a very weird time once GTA 6 just to figure out what that game even is to a lot of people.
Sure.
All right, let's take a quick break. We will come right back after this with plenty of more headlines, including Mecha Break doing very, very well. That game popped off. We'll talk about that right after this. All right, let's get right back into it. Mecha Break beta hit 300,000 concurrent players and broke servers. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Late last week, Amazing CSUN Games launched the latest beta test for Mecha Break, a new cooperative shooter game that's basically Armored Core by way of Titanfall. I did download this because I noticed that. I'm like, boy, that sounds cool. If the initial wave of 300,000 concurrent players is any indication, Mecha Break could be well on its way toward being a hit. However, all of those players led to some of Mecha Break's servers going down. In a message on Mecha Break's official social media channels, Amazing CSUN Games apologized to players for the server problems and promised to send out 3 batches of Ultimate Maintenance Box. Basically, they're just sending you freebies in the game. I don't know what any of those words mean. I mostly want to talk about this because it's like, man, God, these games are still popping out of nowhere for me. Where it's like, yeah, sure, I'd heard about Mecha Break. We saw trailers for it. I think maybe it was in the Keeleys, something like that. And I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I'll check that out. I did not know that this was a game that was primed to have 300,000 concurrent players on Steam, which people that maybe don't know, that's a massive number. That's more than just about any other game you can think of gets, let alone in a beta. So yeah, this is nuts. I think the story I take away here is games can still do this, and then whether or not they can maintain it is a whole other story. But the fact that this is still, that there are people thirsty for something new, speaks to, yeah, more games might be able to join that cadre, at least temporarily, of the 10 games we just talked about in the last story, right?
Right, but also too, this is an idea that maybe in practice is not that much different from the live services games, but it's big mechs. It's Armored Core and Titanfall. It feels has different. Its own, it feels different. So people are going to flock to it. And yes, you are correct. They basically, if I go back to my email history correctly, I believe they basically saved all of their trailers and big news for Keighley related events. Gamescom they were at. The last 2 game awards, I believe they were at 23 and 2024, which is also pretty intelligent for a new studio with a brand new game like that, because that's where all the eyes go, right? 40 million viewers or whatever it was for the last 2 game awards, not combined, each. That's a lot of people seeing these trailers, and they see big mechs blasted all around and all this, and they go, okay, I'll give it a shot. And all of a sudden, here we are, 300,000 concurrent players breaking the servers. Can they maintain that? We will see. That remains to be seen. But the fact that that's even possible should be a nice little beacon or a blueprint of how to make this happen instead of what we were speaking about before. I think it's really cool. And I think they've also done a very good job of getting their word out to press like us. I've seen a lot of emails talking about Mecha Break from these dudes, which then leads to us, previewing it or what have you. And then that is another avenue to get some word of mouth out. It's word of mouth, like I just said, in practice. I feel like that I think people now really devalue word of mouth or don't put as much emphasis on it as they used to. Sometimes the only thing a game needs to get huge is friends telling friends, hey, this is pretty cool. Granted, a lot of that is probably helped by, hey, I watched this YouTuber play it, if I'm being honest. But still,
For
the
sure.
YouTuber plays it, the kid watches it, tells their friends, all of a sudden they're all in. Right? So I mean, I like it. I think it's good for them. I hope it continues. And it breaks. I kind of hope it breaks more servers just so they can be like, hey, we're trying, but you guys keep making us very popular. We can only go. We can only be so popular, guys. Give us a minute. But hey, good for them. I like seeing new IPs break out like this, and I hope it lasts for a good amount of time, especially considering the 10 Goliaths we just spoke about.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a shot. I'm gonna see it for myself. It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We'll kind of take it from there. All right, let's keep going here. 3 years later, the Steam Deck has dominated handheld PC gaming. This is from Sean Hollister at The Verge. Today is the 3rd anniversary of Valve's Steam Deck, the handheld gaming PC that all but created the market for handheld gaming PCs. We all know there was stuff before that, but come on, everybody. It was a mess to start, but 3 years later, The Verge has data showing how it has dominated the nascent market. While Valve told us in November 2023 that it had sold multiple millions of the AMD-powered handheld, we've never had a good glimpse at how big it is or how Windows competitors stack up. Until now, it seems the Steam Deck so far has been bigger than all of its competitors combined. Market research firm IDC uses supply chains to estimate just how many handheld gaming systems have shipped around the world and creates spending forecasts based on that data. When asked, they asked IDC market research analyst Lewis Ward, shout out to Lewis, a friend of mine, if he'd be willing to isolate SteamOS and Windows gaming handhelds from that data, he said yes. So here are the estimates: combined shipment of the Steam Deck and the Windows-based Asus ROG Ally Lenovo Legion Go, and MSI Claw from 2022 through 2024, and an estimate for 2025. Basically, the numbers break down to there have been probably around 4-ish million of these things sold, and actually, excuse me, 6 million of these things shipped over 3 years, and about 66% ish of those are Steam Decks. Those are general figures, but that's how it breaks down. The Verge has more specific numbers, and of course, that comes from IDC's estimates and data. That sounds about right to me. And I think the good news there is that Steam Deck, based on the name and people just like being like, oh, I see this thing when I open up Steam, so this is the default thing. People are shopping around and picking the one that's right for them. And a lot of these other ones are selling pretty well, even if the Steam Deck is kind of barreling over everything in total. It's like, well, it's not like 85%, which, it easily could have been. It's like, no, people want that Roger Ally, and it's doing just as well. I think overall, what these numbers say, though, Jason, is this is a very healthy, fast-growing market, especially when you think about the way other, laptop PCs might sell. These things are selling better than most of those.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to convenience, right? There's something about lugging a heavy gaming laptop with a giant brick everywhere you go, or you just have this handheld. Sure, battery life is an issue, but that's an issue on laptops too. That doesn't really matter, and it's much easier to plug this in than it is to plug in the big brick. I'm not surprised too that the Steam Deck is the leader of this. As you said, it was the first one kind of to create this new market. It sort of started everything back in 2022, but also too, the main ones as you listed here, Asus, Lenovo, and MSI, even people who are loyal to those three brands for their PCs, Steam's universal. Steam's on all three, and they're all playing their games on Steam. So they hear portable PC, they're going to go to Steam first. Granted, the Steam Deck, thanks to its Linux background or whatever it is on the actual thing, it's not as universal. Like Legion Go is a Windows 11 PC I happen to hold like this. So that makes it a little more, makes the barrier of entry a little lower for me personally. But I'm a PC idiot. I will be the first one to tell you that. But I think that, as you said, the fact that it's only 66% kind of goes to the quality and possibility of the idea in general. Do they have Nintendo to thank for that, with the Switch kind of setting portable, big handheld gaming with the Switch back in 2017? That's an argument for another time. But I think that Steam kind of seeing that and being like, can we do this with Steam and a PC? And then, boom, here we go. I think it was smart. I think they were the right ones to do it. I don't think a PC company like Asus or Lenovo would have been as successful if the Steam Deck weren't first. I think the Steam Deck had to be first to make this nascent market what it is.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Chinese companies that, were in this space even before Valve, and that's how it worked. It was a very, very tiny category. I would look over and be like, oh, I want one of those things. That'd be a neat way to do that. They're not super powerful, but I'll be able to play some games on there. And they were weird and cumbersome and very, very expensive. They were usually starting around $1,100. Really, the one you wanted was like $1,300. So I could never justify it. And then, Steam came in with a subsidized Steam Deck and really set a standard for the market. And I think it's easy to forget this was, it's 3 years old. It's been 3 years, and they have already kind of established what is clearly a new pillar for selling hardware to people, video game hardware to people. I also think that, this is the first go around still, really. I think when they do have a Steam Deck 2, that will be primed, I think, to pop off much faster, much quicker. The numbers that Lewis Ward provided here was like in the first year, they sold about 1.6 million of these things. This is for the combined sales of the Steam Deck, Roger Ally, Lenovo Legion Go, and MSI Claw. Obviously, those weren't all out in 2022. But for the category, the 1.6 million in the first year, 2.56 million in the next year, then down to 1.45 the year after that. And then the estimate for 2025 is it will jump back up to 1.9 million. These are not Switch numbers. These are not, these are not even Xbox numbers. Let's be clear. Xbox is selling much faster than this, but this is a brand new category. It is having a little bit of ups and downs, but it's kind of bouncing back up. And so I think it is going to be a permanent fixture here. And like I said, Steam Deck 2 comes, I think it really sells much faster than this. What do you think?
Kind of reflects, how people view gaming in general. You have your console, your players, your Xbox, your PlayStation, and that whole group. PC gaming's always been there.
Yep.
Right? They've always been people who are loyal to just playing on PC. Now they just have a new way to do that. So while you're saying they're not Xbox numbers, they're not Switch numbers, they are numbers comparable to the loyal PC game fan base who want a handheld gaming experience as close to, granted, it's not, keyboard and mouse. You're not going to be able to do that on a handheld unless you jerry rig it and there's HDMI ports or what have you. But being able to take the progress that you've made in a Baldur's Gate on Steam or something like that and just putting it in your hands, that's very intriguing for people who can't lug their PC across the country when they're traveling. So they bring the Steam Deck instead. It makes perfect sense to me that even though, like you said, they're not selling gangbusters like the biggest names in console gaming, it is a very healthy number simply because the PC gamers want the option.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move along here. After Silent Hill 2 Remake's success, Konami and Bloober are teaming up again. This is from Michael McWhorter at Polygon. Konami is once again entrusting Bloober Team, the developer of 2024's outstanding remake of Silent Hill 2, with its intellectual property for a new game. The publisher and developer announced a second collaboration on Tuesday, but did not disclose which game or IP Bloober Team would be developing. Our collaboration with Konami has been incredibly fruitful, and the success of Silent Hill 2 speaks for itself, Bloober Team CEO Peter Babino, Peter Babino, has said in a news release. By sharing knowledge and experience, we have been able to create high-quality production together. Of course, we can't reveal too many details at this time, but we are confident that fans will be just as excited about our collaboration as we are. We can't wait to share something truly special with players when the time is right. They're probably making another Silent Hill, right?
Yeah, it has to be. Like what I'm looking at the Konami list right here. What other well, if we're talking about horror adjacent, what would a Bloober Team Castlevania look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they will probably have a little bit more free reign to maybe do some stuff going down the line, but
yeah,
it's like, God, you probably like try to get some of those other Silent Hills out of the way first, and see if they can replicate the success. Because
sure.
for one, that Silent Hill 2, I think, has got to be the best selling Silent Hill game of all time. Has to be
close to,
yeah, and right. If it's not, it's close to. It's doing very, very well. So this worked. This worked, and you probably, if something works, you're probably going to go do it again. But I think what they're saying here is these two entities really trust each other, and will probably continue this, like have this relationship develop even more going down the line. They probably do. Did they go to Silent Hill 3? I don't know. Does Silent Hill 1 need a remake? In the fans' opinion, I have no idea.
I could see 1. I could see 3. I could see an original. Based on they use the Silent Hill 2 remake to kind of get their feel within the franchise and then try some original story after that. I think that makes logical sense.
Yeah, chat's saying 1 or 3 is reliant on 1, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so you have to do 1 first in order to do 3. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Silent Hill does make the most sense. It was I might be speaking for myself here, but I had very little expectations for that, and it absolutely blew everyone that ever played it away. Now, granted, I'm not the most storied horror gamer. Again, I don't trust my family history, but I could not believe how much people glommed onto that remake as a quality, and maybe that's just a mistrust of Konami, not so much Bloober Team.
It was definitely both going into it. Sure.
But this perfect storm might create even more good stuff. So yeah, go back to 1, then do 3, or do something original. Maybe find a way to. I guess you couldn't combine 1 and 3. You have to see how 1 plays into that. I'm not familiar with Silent Hill.
And I think they would like do it separate, maximize the return on that. Because I think someone in chat suggested they could like reuse the assets that they make for 1 in 3. So yeah, they could bundle them together. True. But I think the idea would be like, let's make 1 and then let's make 3, and we'll be able to save a lot of money in the process of making 3 because we just did 1, and then we can make kind of double our money sort of situation. I could see them going that route.
You could sell it as a trilogy.
Yeah,
and all that stuff too. Yeah, that does make. So 1 being next, the more that chat hammers at home, it does make sense. Good job, chat.
Yeah, good work, third co-host. Ninja 5 is out now. This game is costs a lot of money if you try to buy it like a shoot copy for your Game Boy Advance.
Oh, yeah?
But it's yeah, but you can get it for much cheaper than that now, and it's for every console and PC basically. It's $25. And Ninja 5 is a really, really solid game. I think this is Konami as well. I think Konami made this game, I think. Yeah, this is Konami. And hey, I'm really glad they did this. I never thought they would. I like Ninja 5 a whole bunch. It's worth playing. It's kind of a side-scrolling action ninja game, and it's got a really good look, just like most Game Boy Advance games do. So I highly recommend it. Out now, but Konami got their shit together, huh?
Yeah, like they're all of a sudden they're following the Capcom blueprint that we've talked about many times before. You do remakes to kind of build up your coffers a little bit, Metal Gear and Silent Hill. You bring back old franchises. There will be 3 2025 Ninja Gaiden games between 2, 4, and Ragebound.
Yep.
Like,
that's wait, is that Konami or is that Namco?
Is it
Koei Tecmo?
Oh, it's Koei Tecmo.
Koei Tecmo, yes. Koei Tecmo, yes.
Yeah,
you know, Mike Minotti made the same mistake on a show a little bit ago.
Friend.
Yeah, it's
I
get
Sorry, everybody.
Yes.
Peace. I'm out. But no, yeah, you go. Oh, God damn it, that's embarrassing.
Oh, Mike said the same thing. He was so embarrassed by it, and I gotta say, I think it's
that makes it even more embarrassing.
I think it's such a normal thing to conflate. Like, I get it. Like, I would have thought the same thing previously, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But hey, I think that you're right to say that Konami is following that template, and having a variety of different ideas that they are attacking, remakes, new games based on on classic franchises with like Silent Hill F or whatever it was, and then bringing back classic games just as they are, or in packages or in collections, and that's Ninja 5 a good example of that as well. So, yep, it's the one good cop game. It's more ninja than cop, everybody. So don't worry about it. It's all good. All right, last couple of stories. Sonic Rumble is now coming a little later than expected. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. If you have been keeping an eye out for Sonic Rumble and have been counting down the days until the winter comes to a close and the game is supposed to debut, we have a little bad news for you. The game that was originally expected to launch in winter has been delayed, and now it will be coming sometime in spring. There is no new exact release date, but just a general release timeline. This is that what's the bean game where everyone runs around? Fall Guys. I think it's the Sonic Fall Guys, which always seemed like a pretty good idea. That's a pretty interesting thing. I would like to see that.
If what's it, 32 people, I think I'm seeing as I just looked it up, running in one course, and whoever gets there first, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's basically just the race parts of Fall Guys in Sonic, which is also always known for its speed. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I forgot it existed, to be completely honest with you, until we were
same.
It was on the lineup today. So no offense to the Sonic fans out there. Please don't kill me like the Ninja Gaiden fans are at the moment. But yeah, this is cool. I'll definitely show it to the kids when it comes out, because they like Fall Guys and they like Sonic. So a Sonic Fall Guys seems like a good marriage. Sucks that it's not coming out when they want it to, but if it can still come out this year and make some waves, let's see it. That's cool.
I think this is great. I kind of wish they would just do another Sonic Party game, a Sonic Party instead, but maybe they'll do both. Maybe they'll get around to the other one eventually. All right, last story here. This popped off right before we went live. Dragon Age: The Veilguard headlines March's PlayStation Plus Essential Games. Wow. Sony Interactive Entertainment has revealed March 2025's PlayStation Plus Essential Games. These are the games that you get for just having PlayStation Plus at any tier. You add them to your library, and then you have them as long as you have PlayStation Plus. March's PlayStation Plus Essential Games are Dragon Age: The Veilguard, the PS5 for PS5, Sonic Colors Ultimate, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection. They'll be available to subscribers to claim starting March 4th, and then that will last until March 31st. That's pretty soon for Dragon Age: Veilguard, huh?
Yeah, it's weird, but everything about that game has been weird since it came out, right? Like there's been, it's a great Dragon Age, but it's not as good as they wanted it to be. It's not going to get any follow-ups. It's just been a very weird post-launch cycle for this game. This will inspire me to give it a shot. I mean, it didn't fit into my
I didn't even try it. Yeah, you're right.
Right. Yeah, it didn't fit into my holiday plans just because I kind of fell off Dragon Age, so I didn't think it was for me. I want to pick it up. I want to give it a shot based on what people were saying. I loved what I saw back at Summer Games Fest back in June. But yeah, I mean, it is, but it is soon, as you said. It's surprisingly soon. Like I don't know. It's a weird little, like, there's a red flag going off in my head, but I can't quite pinpoint why. Maybe it's because of the Warner Brothers story, and I'm like, oh crap, is EA going to do the same thing? But BioWare is working on Mass Effect, so they should be okay.
Well, I mean, they've already done the thing that they did to BioWare, right? They cut staff at BioWare and moved a lot of people over to other teams. Yeah. There were layoffs as part of that. So yeah. Mass Effect is going to be its own thing that they'll probably see Mass Effect through. They will make that game, yes. Yeah. But in the meantime, this feels like wiping your hands of the Veilguard hard. Just like absolutely, like we don't even want to look at that thing. Sony cut us a check, and then we're moving on. And they are moving on from Dragon Age. They're not going to make another Dragon Age, at least not unless something changes drastically. Yes.
Right. Yeah. You said wiping your hands of the Veilguard, and I agree. But also, as you also alluded, Dragon Age as a whole. Like, this is the last thing.
Yes.
If maybe they'll put it on Game Pass at some point too.
Right.
That's it. Like, as far as they're concerned, Dragon Age is a defunct, dormant franchise back where it was before the Veilguard even came out, and that'll be that for a while, which is sad and a shame. But I guess that's just another beacon in this entire industry in it.
Yep. It's it'll be an EA Play, which is part of Game Pass, but it's not like EA Play. There's a higher tier where you get day one games, but that's not part of Game Pass. So yeah, it's not on there yet. But hey, they're adding it to PlayStation Plus before they put it in EA Play. And again, that's because they probably could maximize the return, because Sony they probably paid a pretty good amount for Dragon Age so soon.
I would agree.
Although not too much, or else Sony just would not have done it. So there we go. All right, that is going to do it for the headlines. Jan, let's bring up the poll. I'm going to do it myself over here so I can see what I did, what I even said. All right, loading now. All right, when do you expect Switch 2 to launch? This is an updated poll as we continue to get rumors and speculation, just kind of see how people are feeling at the moment. And I gotta say, it seems like the skeptics and the pessimists are winning right now. 2% think it's coming in April. I think that's completely fair. That would be kind of crazy. But only 13% think it'll come by May. So, the Nintendo Direct is happening April 2nd. By the end of May, it would be basically 2 months, but only 13% think it will make that. 40% are leaning toward June, and that's the bulk of it. So I guess when you add it all up, the majority of people think it's coming before summer really gets underway. Right. Then 45% believe it'll be June or July or later. So the second half of the year. So the second half of the year is only 45%. First half of the year, that 3-month period after the April Direct is 55%. With most people leaning towards June right now. I think I'm with that crowd still. May, June is where I'm at. I still think May is even a possibility.
I read the theory of the good dude Brian Shea, formerly of Game Informer, and I think I'm with him.
Nintendo podcast, yeah.
I think I'm with him that June 20th seems like a good sweet spot, because you get the schools just letting out. Summertime's just starting. The gamer kids are going to have Switch 2 to play all summer. So you get the initial sales. And then at holiday time, you have time to restock and then hit that second sale again. Yep. So I don't think it's July or later. May could be a possibility to get right at the end of school. But that June 20th date, ever since he said it, it's just been kind of ringing in my head. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I voted June in this.
I used the thinking machine I have here and went to a website that allows you to search information, and I said N64 release date Japan. That came out June 23rd, 1996. So
interesting.
So they have released hardware around that time before, and that was the initial release of the N64. And now they do all releases as globally as they can. There's always some lag, but they will release it in North America and Japan at the same time now. So this feels Yeah, this feels pretty good. And that's the whole theory. Shay, I heard there was a former Nintendo employee who hid his name and it was just called Sean on the Kit and Krista podcast. Basically said that same exact strategy of
Yeah.
you have the initial wave of like we're gonna have 20 million Switch 2s in the first quarter ready to go with Mario Kart. And then we're going to tell everybody that there's going to be a big game coming that fall. We'll have a restock of hardware by that fall, and Christmas will be like a second launch at that point for people that did not rush to get out the early adopter stuff. That makes a lot of sense. And part of that for sure, 100% for me is Copium, where I am just like, boy, I want this thing earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
But it all does line up, and I don't think we're in a world now where they announce all the details in April and then the release date is deeper in the year. It's probably going to be 2-3 months at most, and 3 months kind of puts them in July, and I don't think this thing comes out in July.
Well, if you go back to Switch 1, that big live stream was January and it came out March 3rd.
Exactly. And so, not much in like the sort of theory behind like quick turnarounds for marketing campaigns has not changed since then. And if anything, it's shrunk even more, where it's like, no, you can announce something 2 weeks ahead of time. Now, they're not going to do that. But Nintendo does always kind of echo what Apple does. And Apple will announce a phone and then sell it to you 2 weeks later. So I think it'll shrink. It'll be a month and a half, 2 months before we really get this thing, and then 2.5 months, maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah.
Let's see the Sega Saturn Shadow drop. Do it.
Oh man. Yeah, make retailers really mad. They don't matter anymore, actually. Yeah, you could just piss off retailers now. That doesn't matter. All right. Let's see here. We have a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do that, though, Jason Fanelli, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff?
Yes, you can find me at Big Man Fanelli at bsky.bsky.social, as you can see on the screen right there. Got some coverage coming out from the aforementioned MagicCon in Chicago. Great interview with the Final Fantasy team, as I mentioned. Other sort of like odds and ends. There's a great article from Joe Bradford, the editor-in-chief, talking about the new Commander brackets. If you play Commander, they have a new like system of classifying how powerful your deck is, and that was just like the first event that was in practice and how that went out. I also just reviewed While Waiting, as I mentioned. I think, I don't know if it's pre-show or on here, but just in case, for But Why Though, an independent website run by Kate Sanchez. Great person, great website. Reviewed that there. Shout outs to all them. Doing some guide work on Pirate Yakuza for IGN, so I'm doing that. Keeping busy. As you want, if I could do one real quick, a quick shout out. I mentioned this in the last show, but recently I went to my local card store to play some Magic, and a fella comes up to me. His name's Mario. He taps me on the shoulder and he says, "Look, we've never met. You don't know me, but I watch you on Jeff Grubb's show." And I went,
wow.
"What?"
Yep.
I said, He's like, "Yeah, I just recognize you." And then the next time I saw him, he had a giant bomb hat on.
So, fantastic.
Yeah. Shout out to that.
Hey, hi, Mario.
Hi, Mario. Shout out.
We all love you, Mario.
And a very appropriate name, too, which is awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
Mario watches Cape Nest 40 confirmed. But yeah, so I meant to say that last time. I forgot, so I wanted to make sure I said it now. But yes, that's where you can find me and all the stuff that I do. If you do happen to follow me on social media, I hope you like pro wrestling, cute dogs and kids, Magic the Gathering, and video games, because that's what you get.
That's what you get. And I think you might have some people in your corner for all that stuff here watching today. People who I want to thank for watching. Thank you all for watching, the best audience in gaming. Jason Fanelli, thank you for hanging out with me, talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
One of my favorite things to do anytime, man.
We have plenty more happening here on the website. Janet Cho, why don't you come on here and talk with me real quick? How should we do these handoffs? What do you think? Sounds good. All right. He's telling me to end the show and we'll go to a standby screen. All right. So thank you, everybody, for watching. You are the best audience in gaming, as I said. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
That's brilliant.